Hey, Jake. Hi. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. Juxtaposition of your very soul. First off, thank you for actually reaching out and saying yes to this, which I think you'd say no.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay, like I always do, I always like to read a bit of introduction of all my guests to my listeners, in this case, also your listeners, so
Hmm.
they know a little bit about your story, and then we can dive right into it.
Sounds good. I love it.
Right. Hi, everyone. We have Jay Green here. He's a filmmaker based out of Atlanta that specializes in documentaries. His company, Peaceful Sea Productions, will soon be launching a streaming network for podcasts, short and feature films, and episodic series for those trying to find a home for their projects. Maybe I can also ask you how do we go about how do I go about doing that? Okay, so he also hosts two political podcasts, a soccer football podcast, and also producing three more. Oh my gosh, that's so many things in 2024. Well, side note, politics is something that Jake became passionate about since 2020, and he'll continue to push for change as long as his knowledge and ideas expand. Pretty interesting, Jake.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
So, okay, what was it like growing as yourself, Jake Green?
Oh man, it was great. I had a great life growing up. I had a brother growing up. We played a lot. We grew up in Dallas, Texas. And so a lot of Texas pride. I still call myself a Texan. One of my podcasts is named after Texas because yeah, Texas is like
It's
in my
just
heart.
yeah.
Yeah, our team just won the baseball World Series, so I'm pretty stoked about that. It's been a pretty good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a good week for Texas, but yeah, I grew up in just regular, middle class America. Went to private schools all my life, so never had to go to public schools and deal with a lot of the terrible things that can happen in a public school. Um, and yeah, ended up dropping out of college 3 times because college,
Okay.
yeah, it never worked for me. I hated doing the academic stuff. I hated doing it. It just seemed like all busy work, nonsense stuff that I could do on my own time. And then one of my friend's little sisters brought home a brochure from a film school,
Ooh.
and I was like, oh, me and my brother used to make little dumb movies growing up, so maybe I could actually turn that into a career. So I started writing feature scripts and TV shows and stuff like that, and then went to college for it. And now I direct movies here in Atlanta.
Wow. Wait, so you dropped out of college three times, but then you
Yeah.
eventually went back to
Uh-huh.
finish filmmaking degree.
Yep. That is correct. Yeah. I just
Okay,
didn't know that
that's
filmmaking was like an option. Like that was never presented as an option growing up that you could actually
right,
like make movies for a career.
right.
It was always like regular jobs, like architecture, engineering,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
engineering,
Yeah.
medicine. Oh,
Yeah.
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 Okay. So, wait, I'm gonna ask you the next question. How did you get into filmmaking? I know, yeah, I think we talked about it just briefly, but how did you get into that?
Yeah, no, so I wrote a script long before I thought I could actually go into the film industry. I wrote a script just because I thought it would be fun, and I based it off me and my dumb friends. And then that my friend brought home that brochure, and I got into film school. But yeah, I don't know. I always liked to tell stories growing up, and like me and my brother would run around the neighborhood with all of our little friends and make movies titled like Ping Pong Will, and I mean just the worst movies you've ever seen in your life, like so bad. But we had so much fun doing it, and yeah, that it's funny. Like I did go to college for film and television for screenwriting and directing, but I generally advise people not to do that. When like parents, kids, or kids of parents or parents come and ask me like what their kid needs to do to get into the film industry, I generally say don't go to college. You don't need to go to college to learn film. You just need to go to a city where they're filming movies, where they're filming TV shows, and start on the lowest rung of the production line, which is production assistant. And you're going to
Right.
learn more in the first week on a film set than you would basically the entire time at film
In
school.
school.
Yeah. Now, if you're going for some specialty thing that needs a ton of work and you need structure in your life,
Like
if you're not
effects
as
and whatnot. Is that included
yeah,
inside? Right.
yeah. Like if you want to do that and you need like that structure and you need some guidance on how to go, then maybe film school, but definitely don't spend too much money going to film school. You're not going to make your money back for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically just go out there and just go and try and find and just, I don't know, be close with somebody in the production
Yeah, there are
team.
lots of websites for that too. So the one that I used when I was first starting was called staffmeup.com, and it hooks you up with
Is
local
it like
productions.
specifically right, it's local production specific, or is it like in all other
Yep.
industries and they just staff
Nope.
me up?
It's
No.
just for films and TV. So it's
Right.
specific for that, and I'm sure there are more now. I haven't used those in a long time now, but it worked great. And like I became a production assistant, and this was after film school, so like I still had to start at the bottom and work my way up,
Right.
even though I had gone to college. So you're gonna have to do that either way. So I don't care for the fact that so much money was spent on film school when I could have just done it all myself.
Fantastic. So, okay. What's the hardest part about being an independent filmmaker?
It's always the funding. I mean, finding funding for your movies. So I produce and direct my own stuff.
Okay, I have a question. So, I mean, how would you determine a production cost? Like, how would you determine the cost from start to finish of a movie?
Oh, that is such a hard question because uh,
Sorry.
with documentary filmmaking, it's a little bit different because for one, there's no set storyline when you start filming. So like the subject matter you want to cover, but you don't
Mm,
have that story that goes all the way through because you don't know what people are going to say in interviews. You don't know what you're going to discover along the way. And so, like, and it takes years. So my first documentary took like 3 years to get all of the info that I needed to compile and then finally release. And so I'm not the perfect person at budgeting. And when you have a tiny team, which is basically just me and my wife, and then
right.
occasionally I'll hire some contractors for different things. But um, the budget is really hard to actually calculate by the end of it because you're spending $1,000 here, and then 6 months later, you're spending a few $1,000s to travel, or a couple thousand to hire an animator or whatever. And so, like, adding it all up is super difficult, especially when you have a ton on your plate. And
Right.
so, yeah, I could definitely be better at that, and I could definitely that would definitely be a huge skill to learn. But man, that's a lot of learning involved in like bookkeeping and accounting and keeping track of budgets and stuff like that. And that's just not my wheelhouse. So,
Okay. Okay. Well, but the hardest part would be about the funding. So
yeah.
so far, how have you funded your films? Is it self-fund?
So far, it's all self-funded. Yeah, I've pitched to a bunch of folks. I've tried to get folks to jump on board, but either they want to change too much
Right.
about my vision, or they don't think it's going to make any money. And so it's yeah, that's probably the hardest part. And so if you're a hustler and you can go out there and do it all yourself and fund it yourself, like that's another reason why it takes a little bit longer for me because um, I have to get the funds first. I have to go out and make money with, a different kind of job. I do real estate photography during the day when I'm not doing anything else. And so that
Right.
helps fund my movies. And so That's another reason it takes
Yeah,
a little bit longer.
yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I have a 9 to 5 as well, but right
Hmm.
now podcasting is my passion project.
Yes, I love that.
Yes. Okay, so I don't know if you've listened to any of my podcasts, but my podcast talks a lot about self-worthiness and everything about self-discovery and all those things. So I noticed when I was reading your profile, you mentioned you are a jack of all trades and master of none. And then I can also somehow sense that you're also a risk taker.
Mm.
So tell me more about that. Like I can feel like there are a few parallels here.
Yeah, definitely a jack of all. What my favorite thing, this went around Instagram and TikTok for a while, is that phrase was never actually finished. The jack of all trades one.
Really?
So it's
Okay.
a jack of all trades, but a master of none, but still is more resilient than a master of one. Um,
Ooh,
yeah,
I'm gonna
and so
I'm gonna quote that when I air this. Okay. But
so
still resilient than
still
a
is more resilient than a master of one. Yeah.
okay.
And I like that's kind of what I live by at this point because I'm interested in so many different things that it
Exactly.
it's
Preach.
like and it yeah it helps you be more resilient. It helps you get into like different fields, different ideas, different ways to earn income. Um, and I've forgotten what the original question was. Can you repeat?
No. No. It was because I was saying I was mentioning to you that the podcast talks about the my no people's general self-worth and
Right.
self-discovery. Yes,
Yes.
yes. So
Yeah.
I mean, mm, yeah.
Um, I okay. Here's an example. So I do take risks, and they don't always pay off. They probably pay off like 20% of the time. You just got to keep going. But here's an example of like doubting and like being nervous about everything. Is when I was shooting my first documentary. It was about a music producer who would travel the world and make music with people who have been affected by some terrible things like war, terror, persecution, that kind of stuff. And so we flew to Lebanon to make music with Syrian and Iraqi refugees. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know any. We knew one person on the ground. We just showed up and started. He started finding people to record with, and I started filming. And the whole first week, I was so nervous, so tense, so out of my element. I was so anxious that I had canker sores like all in my mouth
Whoa.
and like could
Wh-
barely speak without an excruciating
You
amount of pain.
and you were anxious because of your safety or because of the project that you're undertaking?
A little bit of both. There was definitely some safety issues involved in going to Lebanon at that time, especially with the camera. But it was just the
Right.
combination of like the unknown. I think is really what does it. Is having no idea what to expect, what's waiting for you. And I think the unknown is what deters a lot of people from actually pursuing things that they want to do. And so yeah,
Ooh,
that was the probably the primary reason for my anxiety at the time.
right. I love
Yeah.
how you tied it up. So, and how did I guess I want to I want to put this question in a way that um how would you say or how would you pack like the fact that you are a that quote I forgot the last part jack of all trades, master of none, but more resilient than one, right?
Yeah.
How did that, I would say, mindset or
Hmm.
principle that you have has impacted your life and the trajectory of your career this today?
Wow. Well, if I honestly don't know how I got that mindset. I don't know how that all started. I've tried to reflect on that before, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. But if I hadn't had the personality that I have, I would be in a job that I hated, in a life that I really
Mm,
didn't like, that wasn't fulfilling. Um,
yeah.
and I don't know what it is about, like, I, I like to buck the system, and I don't like authority, and I don't like people telling me what to do. And um, I don't know where it came from, because
Same.
I grew up very devout Christian, and I still am a devout Christian, but I like there's something about people telling me how to live my life and what to do that drives me nuts, and I'm just like, no, forget
I'll
that. I'm gonna
show
go
you.
do what I
Yeah.
want to do.
Exactly. And take picture while I'm doing it, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. It's relatable, relatable.
Yes.
Okay, so how what would you say to somebody, anybody listening out there, some simple step by step practice when getting into filmmaking?
Mm. Um, the best thing about the world today, as far as learning skills, is the fact that we have the internet. So you like the number of times that I still go on YouTube to look up a video to learn something about a camera or a light or a microphone, or, you know, shot angles and color temperature and all this kind of stuff. Like, you have a university at your fingertips at all times. Like, if you go find the right stuff, if you find what you're passionate about. So I mean, the very first thing is go do research on the different types of positions in the film world. Um, and if you're gonna get into, like, for me, I have to learn uh, camera operating, directing, cinematography. I have to learn all of it because I operate with a skeleton crew. It's basically just me and sometimes one other person. So you have, like, depending on what you want to do in film and TV, you need to focus on learning about those. So the first step is just go learn about the positions, learn about what the film industry is actually like, because they don't even teach you that at film school. They don't teach you anything about the actual film industry. They don't set you up for success. We had, like, I have a buddy who's a cinematographer here in Atlanta, and they never told him in school that there was a union for cinematographers, that you had to join a union in order to get, like, a good amount of work, and they never set you up to learn anything about that. And that's stuff that you could learn in 2 seconds on your own, but you kind of expect the school to teach you what you're supposed to do to get a job once you graduate. And so there's just so much knowledge and information out there. The first step would be to learn exactly, maybe not exactly what you want to do, but get a good idea of how the film industry works and what a film set is like. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, I hear you. So basically, just going out there and just giving it studying, researching, and then just I would say don't be afraid to give it a try and fail,
Yeah, you're
right?
gonna fail a lot. You're gonna fail all the time. I mean,
Uh,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
How do you keep the motivation? How do you keep going? Now that's
Oh,
important.
oh, the motivation dies regularly.
Yeah, yeah. How do you replenish it?
So for me, I shot a movie last year, or it got released last year, and like 2 weeks after the movie, I was talking to my wife. I was like, babe, like, I think I'm done with movies for a while. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need a break. I need to do other things and rest. Well,
Distract yourself from that and come back to it.
yeah, yeah, maybe come back to it.
Maybe, maybe
Yeah,
you don't even know if you're gonna come back. Okay.
yeah. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call from a buddy, and he's like, "Do you want to shoot this documentary?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I do."
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
And so, like, if you
Okay.
it, surround yourself with people who enjoy doing the same stuff as you, like, if you want to be in the film industry, surround yourself with people who also want to or are interested in that, or at least
Go to.
have a tangential, like, relation to it. People who love movies, people who are
Right.
obsessed with movies, or, or writers, or you just surround yourself with creative people, and that'll help you stay on track, because you're going to lose hope quite a bit, because it's a rough road. But
Okay.
yeah, as long as you have a good support staff, then support group, then you're great. Yeah.
Finding a community, then something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. What is the goal of the Peaceful Sea Network?
So, yeah, I basically, with all the struggles of trying to fund and get my films out there on like big platforms, like it's difficult. There are lots of gatekeepers. There are lots of people who are going to say no repeatedly, um, and people just aren't going to want to invest in your project, invest in your movie. And so I am trying to create a platform where I can accept people who think at least somewhat similarly or independently from what we're just told all the time, through movies, TVs, and media. And so the purpose of it is to get smaller voices a bigger platform to spread their messages.
It's like one match.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. Right. So it's so how does it work? Like not so sure because you said it's going to be launched soon. I'm not sure if it's already
Hmm.
launched. So how will it be operated? Like I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like how, somebody to be on that platform.
Yeah, we're still working out all the details. There's a lot that goes into launching a streaming platform, is what I'm learning.
Ooh,
It's
yeah.
it's
Well,
exhausting.
again, another example of you being a all trades, right?
Yes, exactly.
Wow, wow. Perhaps the next episode I can invite you is to actually talk how to launch a streaming network. You know, that could
There
be
we
a
go.
good one. Yeah.
That could be a good
Oh,
one.
okay. Yeah,
Heck
yeah,
yeah.
okay. I'll definitely. Yes, let's keep in touch. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
you were saying.
Oh no, no. So yeah, like the process for submitting to us, I haven't nailed down at the moment. I'm still building out the infrastructure of the website, which is yet another skill you have to learn if you're an independent filmmaker. You have to learn how to market yourself and how to build a website and how to build social media platform and all this stuff that you probably don't want to waste your time on, but you have to do it starting out. Um, so I don't know how the submission process is going to go, but my plan is to have, um, basically a subscription service. It's going to be $1 a month to join the network, to watch everything on it. And everybody who's a part of it will get part of the revenue. Um, and yeah,
No way.
that's the very basic plan
Can
right now.
I?
You Yeah.
I'd like to register my
You're gonna
podcast.
submit. There we go.
Okay.
And yeah,
Yay!
and there'll be
Me.
different levels. So like, you know how like a lot of like Patreon programs and stuff, they'll do, you'll get extras, behind the scenes stuff, extra episodes, that kind of thing. So you'll be able to pay more per month if you want that kind of thing. But if you just want to watch all the basic episodes, like the movies that are, on the platform, then it's just $1 a month. I think everybody's kind of overloaded with like paying for
Oh my
subscription
god.
services these days, and so I wanted to do the
Yeah.
cheapest possible thing to keep it running.
Thank you
Yeah,
for coming up with that idea.
yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Rooting for Peaceful Sea Network.
There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to touch a bit about politics here because you
Okay.
said you're something passionate about,
Yeah,
right? Since 2020, and I am. I don't know. I don't know if you know. I'm from Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. So
I
I've
love Kuala
most.
Lumpur.
No way! Really?
Oh,
Have you visited? Have you visited
yes,
Malaysia?
it's freaking
Oh,
beautiful.
oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. When was your last visit?
I think the last time I was there was 2016, so it's been a while now. But oh my gosh, we had so much fun there. It's so beautiful. Yeah, we went on so
Oh,
many
thank you.
hikes. The food is absurdly good.
How did that how do I say this? How did Malaysian food fit with your American
So before I traveled a
style?
lot, I just assumed like Asian food was Asian food, you know? But then
It's like
as
the
I
pho, the ramen, like
yeah
the usual typical one. Okay, the
yeah
wok.
but yes, exactly. But then once I traveled through, because I went basically from India to Nepal to uh I don't know. Where else did we go? Thailand, Malaysia, Myanmar, Indonesia. Like we did that all on the same route, and it's
Wow.
crazy how different the food is from one place
From
to the
one,
next.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and so I
yeah.
mean, it's a delight. We have a Malaysian restaurant right down the street from us here in Atlanta, and
No
it's
way. No way. Is it run by a
fantastic.
Malaysian? Is it run by a
Yes,
Malaysian?
yeah.
Oh no. Okay. Okay. So one thing here, I have yet to visit the U.S. Which
Okay,
now that I have spoken to so many guests in the U.S. and actually I'm making friends in each cities right
I
now.
love
So
it.
I
I
know.
love it.
So I now know that you said you're in Austin, right?
I'm
But
I'm
wherever
in
is it?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Atlanta. Yeah. So
it's
there's
all
a
good.
Malaysian restaurant. So okay, cool.
Yep, yep.
Right. I wanted to ask, like, are you affiliated with any political party, and
Yeah,
why?
I I'm heavily involved with the Libertarian Party. Um, very heavily involved with the
Libertarian.
Libertarian Party of Georgia, and basically, we're the third biggest party in America, which isn't saying much because all any parties besides Democrats and Republicans are tiny. So we get 2 to 6% of the vote each time. So we're still growing.
Right.
We're one of the younger parties. So it's not like we've been around forever. But yeah, I do a lot of work with the Libertarian Party trying to basically our slogan, our like unofficial slogan is don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. Like that, those are
Mm.
the two principles we base the entire thing off of. Is what you call the non-aggression principle. Is basically don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. And yeah, I do the official podcast for the Libertarian Party of Georgia, and I do a lot of their media and a lot of their. I go to a lot of fundraising events and stuff like that for the for the party. So
Wow. And do you mind sharing like the, what do I say, the vision of the party? It's
mm,
basically from my knowledge.
yeah, so basically what we focus on is local elections. So rather than spending all of our time and money on like the presidency or like US senators or congresspeople, we try to focus on getting your local city council, your school district, like anything that affects you on a daily basis. We try to get our people in there so that the government can get off your back, because we believe in non-intervention. We don't want the government getting involved in your everyday life. We think the government's involvement in your life should be minimal at most. And so having a good city council, having good people in your community that are in charge of the government is a very powerful thing to affect yourself and your community, like your immediate community. And so, yeah, the vision is build local first, and then eventually build up to the presidency. And we always have a presidential candidate, but we don't put all of our eggs in that basket because that's a really hard election to win.
Right, right. And oh wow, I have so many questions. Uh, so it's like you're focusing from the proximity within your people and the council first, because that's the closest that can impact
Yes.
the dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, libertarian. I mean, we in Malaysia we have political parties such as that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it is also somehow similar. Like you can't really influence the prime minister.
Right.
Um, um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
as a whole, just yet.
Mm.
It'll take it'll take a while.
Yeah. It takes a while. Like
And
we.
the new generation has to continue,
Yeah.
if they're still, yeah.
Yeah, and you gotta
Oh,
teach people. You gotta influence younger people to get on board with it, and not there not be indoctrinated into some terrible ideology that is basically just begging for the destruction of the human race. And so, yeah, we building from the ground up. It's going to take a while, and we're working really hard. But it's totally worth it. When we win elections all the time, which is fantastic. So it's working. It just takes a while.
It just needs, yeah. It's just, yeah. Time, right?
Yep.
You're doing good things, Jake.
Thank you, Nicolette.
Okay, so now again we're gonna move to a different topic, and I think I'm gonna bring back to another topic that you mentioned about schooling just now, but never
Cool.
mind. Now we're gonna talk about Bitcoin.
Yes.
Yes, I think this is one of your main interests, I would say.
Yes, it
So
is.
please tell us, when did you get into Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and why Bitcoin?
Yeah. So I got into Bitcoin. I started looking into it in like 2018, 2019, and really started going hard into Bitcoin in 2020. Once countries started getting locked down and cities started getting locked down, and they started printing trillions of dollars of cash here in the United States, that's when I started looking for alternate currencies, because I don't know if people know this, but inflation, there's all sorts of boogeymen that are blamed for inflation, and there's all sorts of reasons that people will give you why inflation happens. But the definition of inflation is an increase in the money supply. And so when you print money without any backing and you're just printing paper, you are anybody who owns dollars or anybody who owns currency that's based off the dollar, which is most of the world,
Yeah.
the value of your money decreases. And it doesn't happen immediately. It happens over the next 3 to 10 years. And so they printed 40% of the dollars ever printed in existence in the year 2020. And so ever since 2020,
Wow.
inflation has been going up steadily. And now they're telling
Yep.
you right now it's at 5%, but it's actually closer to like 19 or 20%. And so it's going to keep increasing because you can't stop it. Once you print the dollars and they're out there, like it's done. And so
Yeah.
my whole thing was trying to find currencies that were solid. It's called hard money. It's have a foundation, cannot be inflated. This is why things like gold are really important for like just to have a little bit of gold on hand, because gold retains its value forever. It inflates
Mm-hmm.
maybe 1%, maybe 2% per year. But the reason gold doesn't inflate very much is because it takes a lot of energy to mine it. And so you're putting in a lot of labor to get gold back. And so gold doesn't actually increase, doesn't actually inflate the same way that like paper currency does. And so Bitcoin, the thing with Bitcoin is you cannot print more of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, there's 21 million forever. That's it. So you cannot increase the money supply, which means your dollars will never, your Satoshis, your Bitcoin will never be worth less than it is once it
When you're
stabilizes
bored.
as a currency. And so, yeah, people always freak out because they see the chart and they see Bitcoin jump up and then
Yeah.
skyrocket back
Yeah.
down.
It's like, yeah. Yeah.
But it's because people don't zoom out enough. So if you zoom out on the Bitcoin chart, all you see is this. All you see is just straight up. It only goes up. If you just zoom all the way out, Bitcoin only goes up, and it's because of how it was designed. And so, there are things with Bitcoin that are unlike any other cryptocurrency. So every single other cryptocurrency has someone in charge of it. Bitcoin doesn't. So you can't reach out
Oh,
to somebody in Bitcoin and be like,
and
print
say,
more of
hello, I
this.
need help with my, yeah.
There you go. Like, yeah, it can't be manipulated by people
Mm.
who own it, or who run the currency, because there isn't anybody who runs the currency. And things like Ethereum, which is like the second most popular one, there's people in charge of that. They could just go in and print more. They could
Manipulate
use it.
it and
They
whatnot.
could use it for some terrible means. They could, yeah, they could inflate it. They could do all sorts of horrible things to it. So Bitcoin, it is not possible to do that with. And the fact that I could send you money in 10 seconds without any intermediary. So I don't need a bank to approve a transfer. Like if I go to a bank and I'm trying to send you $10,000, they would have to approve it. There'd be a whole like 72-hour, 24-hour waiting process and waiting for approval, and then it would finally get to you, and you'd have to go in and you'd have to pay fees to get it out. Well, with Bitcoin, I can send you $10,000 in 10,000 satoshis, we'll say, in 10 seconds flat, and the fee will be like 50 cents. And so it's like the saleability over space. There's I did a documentary about a guy who really talks about Bitcoin for a long time, and is obsessed with Bitcoin, and he is fantastic. He's one of the experts here in the U.S. about on Bitcoin, and he gives a whole list of reasons why Bitcoin is the currency of the future. And people kind of treat it here in the United States like a stock, but is definitely going to end up being probably the most important currency ever created, in my opinion.
Wow, that's a pretty big statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
But 21 million across 8 billion in the world, 8 billion people, like that's
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I think the one flaw of Bitcoin was calling one Bitcoin a Bitcoin, because you have to think you have to think of it like this, because there are 100 million satoshis, which are like one
right. The
satoshi is like $1.
components of it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And so what they should have
Okay.
done is called those Bitcoins, and the 100 million one, like, you have one satoshi. They should have flipped it, because
Right.
because that confuses a lot of people, that there's only
Yeah.
21 million Bitcoins, so how can everybody in the world have a Bitcoin? Well, everybody in the world doesn't need a Bitcoin. You just need a few 100,000 satoshis and you'll be fine.
Satoshis. Yeah, and that equate to 0. I don't know, 00 something Bitcoin, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so, yeah,
Okay.
that was it's one of the hardest things to explain to people. Bitcoin's really hard to explain, and in the same way the internet was hard to explain to people at first. Like, so many people thought the internet was a fad, but if you look at the adoption rate of the internet, Bitcoin is on the exact same trajectory, only faster.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow. I had some Bitcoin before, but I think I let it go, and then I haven't looked at my wallet ever since. I need to go and look for the code, right? I have forgotten everything. Yeah.
That's okay.
Or
Get some
maybe
Bitcoin.
Oh, okay. I gotta go back, and I think every time, because I think you're the first guest that talks about Bitcoin on my podcast. So I think this is like universe trying to say, okay, you've went astray, by not like I try to close my eyes on cryptocurrency, like, oh, okay, it's not gonna happen. In the next, I don't know, 50 years, I don't know if I'm still gonna be around, but it seems like I need to revisit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just as warning, I would never,
Okay.
so it's not financial advice, but
Yep.
I personally
Yep.
would never buy any other crypto, only Bitcoin, because all the other cryptos can be manipulated. They're basically just, we call them shit coins. They're terrible. They can be manipulated. They go up and down. They tank. They go, like, if you want to be a stock trader and take a bunch of chances, then maybe go have fun with crypto. But if you want to be serious about, like, maintaining the value of your hard-earned labor, what you do every day, go invest in Bitcoin. That's what I tell myself every freaking day.
Okay. So would you say you're pretty diversified then?
Yeah, we're very diversified.
Okay. So yeah, before I ask this question, you were mentioning about you went to private school instead of public school in the US. I would like to talk about what are these differences that you have in the US. Like
Mm,
one of the guests I asked about the insurance system,
hmm
and then it's okay. It's pretty gnarly in the US. So I'd like to know how's your education system?
So before the Department of Education was created, the federal Department of Education was created, the U.S.
Hmm.
ranked in the top 5 in every single educational category. We had the Industrial Revolution. We had crazy inventions. We had people like innovating left and right. We had some of the smartest people on earth. Then the Department of Education was created to standardize what every kid
Ooh.
in the United States learns. And since then, we barely rank in the top 50, maybe. Like our the quality of education has gone down dramatically. In a pretty it's a pretty crazy statistics to look up if you want to go look into that. But man, we have lost so much knowledge and learning and the ability to learn. Um, one thing, there's a guy named Michael Malice. He's a anarchist libertarian thinker, podcaster. He's awesome, and he actually hosts a show called You're Welcome. And yeah, he's
Okay. Is it
fantastic.
on
He's one of my
Spotify?
favorites. Yeah, yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, I'll
He's
check
one of
it
the
out.
best thinkers I've ever listened to. He's really fun, interesting. Um, but he said, I'm losing my train of thought. Hang on one second. Let me try to get it back. Oh yeah, he mentions a statistic all the time where public school is the most likely place and the only place where most children will suffer physical violence in their entire lives. And it happens here in the United States regularly. So like there's a large amount of kids going to public school who fear for their safety every day and who are beaten and not protected and
Bullied. Yeah.
bullied, and all sorts of terrible things happen to them because public schools are a disaster. They're a mess. There's half the time there's like no one in charge. The teachers don't want to be there. The teachers often feel threatened. It's just a disaster. And so I'm very thankful that I didn't have to go through any of that growing up. But there are a lot of people who do. And mind you, this isn't everybody. Like some people have a great time in public school, but it's
Right.
where the majority of violence happens to kids in their lives. If someone's going to suffer violence, it's probably in a public school.
So, okay. Again, just my curiosity.
Yeah.
What's the difference in terms of percentage that you pay in public school and private school in the US? I
Mm.
know, depending on whether you start in middle, I
So
don't know,
yeah,
you start in elementary. Mm.
that's what that's what so that's why so many people do public school, is because your taxes for public school are taken out automatically. So you don't get the choice. So I living in this house right now where I am, I'm paying for the local public school even though I don't have kids. So your
Mm.
taxes
Okay.
go to that school no matter what. And if you want to send your kids to private school, guess what? You have to pay more to the private school on top of that. So like you're paying for the local public school and the private school that you want
And
to
your
send your
kids
kids
in
to.
private
Yeah.
school.
And so, but private school, I don't know what the prices are these days. I know there are some that are insanely expensive, but I know there are more being created, especially here in Georgia, which means the prices will go down because there'll be more supply, which means prices will go down. And so I don't know what the exact numbers are, but private school is definitely a big chunk out of your paycheck.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Jake.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you prep going off grid?
Mm.
This is like a big jump from public school to going off grid. Like, okay,
Eh,
I don't want to do school anymore. I'm just gonna go off grid.
Yeah, so my wife and I bought 200 acres in the middle of nowhere, Montana. So we basically bought a mountain up at
Wow.
in the wilderness. We have a big old grizzly bear who lives near our property. We got like
Oh
big,
my
yeah, we got like big moose, big brother moose that live on our property, like mountain lions, all sorts of stuff. And so that's our like long-term plan. So we started taking steps last year to build, or this year to build on the property. So we're going to build our first structure, hopefully have it done by the end of next year, move up there,
God.
and
Wow.
we're basically trying to build a community up there. So 200 acres, we're giving an acre to 5 to 10 friends and family to come build their own house. So they don't have to pay for it. They just have to pay for the build. They just have to pay for building their house, and we can all live there together. We'll have a big old greenhouse. We'll have farming. We'll have animals. We'll have everything we need to survive. And so all that started happening in 2020 when we couldn't leave our house. Like, in Georgia, we weren't locked down as long as other states, but we were locked down. And you couldn't go anywhere unless you were essential. And the government deciding who's essential is laughable
Mm.
because, in my view,
Mm.
none of them are essential. So yeah, I mean, going off grid, it's probably the hardest project that we'll ever undertake, because there's no power out there, so you have to have solar, wind, a generator, even some hydro power. We're fortunate enough to have a spring on our property, so we have endless water, which is fantastic. But also up in Montana, it gets freezing. It's like it can get down to like -40 Fahrenheit. So
Oh.
it's yeah, it's not the warmest place during the winter, but I like that. My wife grew up in Colorado in the mountains, so she's used to it too. So yeah, I'm looking very forward to that, which is why I'm trying to do this whole podcasting platform and like streaming network and everything right now, so that once I move up there, I have an income stream and I can keep that up while I'm building the house and property up there.
Respect, Jake. My God, you're doing so many things,
I know.
and then you have a you're building a community. So how many people are you expecting to live there eventually?
So let's see. It's going to be probably 7 families. So my brother and his wife and their kids will live there. They have one now, but they'll have more. And then got some friends here in Atlanta that are moving up there. Got my parents are going to move up there. Nikki's, my wife's parents are going to move up there. And then a couple others here and there. So by the end, we'll probably have, once everybody has all the kids they're going to have, we'll probably have like 35 or 40 people on the property.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. I've never heard anybody who actually bought a um up in the mountains, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you find that place? Is that place even? I mean, how did you find these things?
It was hard. It took a lot of scrolling through websites, because we did this during 2020. Like the day we were locked down, I started looking at properties, and then I was technically essential.
Because you're in real
Yeah.
estate
Yeah.
invest. Now that's why. That now I'm getting it. That's why you got the idea. It's like, how
Yeah.
would if I was in lockdown, I would have not have thought like the only thing that I wanted to think about is to go out and like how do I start to live my life again?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, I'm learning
Hmm.
so much today. All right. Okay. So, Jake, I'm gonna pivot to a question that's somehow related to my podcast. I mean, all of your questions are all questions are always related to my podcast, but this one is more on self-discovery.
Okay.
So, question for you: what are some actionable steps that listeners can implement in their lives to start their journey of self-discovery and nurture a healthier self-worth?
Mm.
So I'm going to break it down for you. Steps that listeners can implement in terms of starting a journey of self-discovery and healthier self-worth.
Hmm. That's a great question. Um, One of the things that I notice about myself is when I do no physical activity, I get pretty miserable. My day is worse.
Okay.
So I like to start out with some, like each day with some type of physical activity, whether that's running, lifting weights, going for a walk, um, anything like that. I think that physical exercise is what our bodies were meant to do. For
Ooh, yeah.
thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we've been doing really hard manual labor, and our bodies need that to thrive. And when it doesn't get that, I think it affects you, especially your mental state, in some pretty terrible ways. And you can get really down. You can get really anxious. There's a lot of pent up energy in you that you probably don't even realize. And there are times when I go for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months without doing any exercise. And then I'm wondering, like, why am I so tense and angry and frustrated? It's like, oh,
Right.
I have not been
Because
doing
you
what I
haven't
know that I need to
released
do.
your.
Yeah. And so that would be number one. And number two for me would be try to not look at a screen for the first hour in your day, um, which is one of the hardest things.
Guilty. Okay.
Oh, I do
Okay.
it. That's really hard. I go on streaks of sleeping with my phone outside the bedroom and inside. And so like when it's inside, I'll look at it, as soon as I wake up, just what's on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or just the notification, like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, but Instagram will be the first. Oh,
Yep.
oh gosh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So yeah, I like going outside. I know I follow there. I mean, there's tons of medical and like psychiatrists, psychologists, people on who have podcasts that are fantastic with this stuff. But one of the things that I've learned is um, like walking outside, no matter where it is, and getting the sun right off the bat, having your bare feet on the ground is another big thing, like being grounded with the earth and having like a moment of silence or like a little while of meditation. For me, it's like praying and reading the Bible. Just something in solitude by yourself with no distractions where you're just connected with everything, um, rather than being digitally connected with everything.
Exactly. That's the juxtaposition. That's the paradox. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. Right. So, what is your heart's greatest wish?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, my heart's greatest wish is to just grow old and happy with my wife. Like just live on a mountain with her and enjoy life. Like we have so much fun together, and everybody goes through hard times, but man, we find a way to get through them all. And that would be, yeah, sit on a mountaintop with my wife in 60 years, just looking at a sunset.
I can already imagine it. Okay. So, do you have like a mantra that you live by?
Um, kind of. Uh, I got this saying from my friend, and I've kind of adopted it as my own, which is overkill is underrated. So if you're gonna do something, go all out. Do it over the
Oh,
top. Do more than what you need to do. Don't ever do the bare minimum, basically.
ooh, ooh, ooh. So it's the same with anything, podcasting.
Yeah.
Just go and do it, even though right now I don't see any money. I mean, I have seen some, but it's like, okay, just continue doing it and
Yep.
bettering yourself.
Yep. And it takes a long
Okay.
time, and that's why you have to love what you do. Like if I didn't love making
Mhm.
the podcasts that I make, like there's no way I could wait around for the 5 or 10 years it'll take for me to earn a legit living from those podcasts if I didn't enjoy making them. Like unless you're just an absurdly mentally strong human and you can do that, like good on you, but I can't do that. And you have to at least enjoy either what you do or the result of what you do. Like a lot of people can get through pretty crappy jobs to provide for
Yeah,
something
and
bigger than
as long
themselves.
as they can, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, right. So, do you have anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
Well, I take THC every night, so I sleep like a baby.
I guess my question was, what keeps you up at night, if there's any, besides THC? THC
uh,
is legal in your state, right? I
Delta
thought.
8 and Delta 10 is legal, which is technically a modified form of THC. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. 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 I read a little bit about this. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So nothing. You sleep well.
I sleep great. I used to not sleep great at all. And my brain just keeps going after I lay down. And if I wake up in the middle of the night, then it won't stop um, if I don't take some THC. And like I sleep so well since I started taking that. And I
Okay. So
like,
no. Okay. Sorry. This is again like another question from me. So I think okay, it's not legal in Malaysia, but just for my knowledge, so is it, when you say it's modified, right? Is it uh synthetic? No.
so it's natural, but Delta 8, they remove one molecule so that it's no longer THC, so that it's legal. So they remove one single molecule so that we can
Uh,
have it here. Yeah, and so it's not technically synthetic. Delta 10 might technically be synthetic because they had to add something to it. Um, but Delta 8 is basically the exact same thing as THC, just slightly less powerful.
just right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Um, Last question, Jake.
Mhm.
If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Hmm. That's a really good one. I guess it would be um, learn when to be hard on yourself and learn when to go easy on yourself. Because you're gonna need both. You can't just have one or the other. So learn when to
Oh
forgive
gosh.
yourself and learn when to push harder and make yourself better.
Wow. Now every time, yeah, I'm internalizing it because I have also find it difficult to be balanced. Sometimes younger years, I used to be on the push, 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 go, go, go side.
Yeah.
And then when you hit some traumatic event and you go through some healing journey, spiritual journey, and then you go on the other side
Hmm.
of the spectrum. And then it's all about like, how do I say this? You want to be kind, but then you still need that drive to go further, not because of you wanting to pursue material things,
Hmm.
possessions, but it's just the balance. And okay, I guess finding the right thing that you want to do in life so you can have kindness and at the same time the motivation to go and do it. And I think it all circles back to loving what you do,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I said something. I asked you and then I answered it.
No,
So we
it's
came
your
full
show. You're
circle.
allowed to do that. That's great.
So that was just me thinking out loud.
That's perfect.
well, oh, well, thank you, Jake. I think we're good with time. 59 minutes.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicolette. I appreciate it. This was a blast.
I Same, likewise. Thank you so much for being so candid, so open, and I learned a lot from talking to you today, from Bitcoin to filmmaking
Mm.
to your political party to
Yeah.
THC. Now I read an article about that, but now I understood it that you took it's about taking one molecule out.
Hmm.
So again, something I can show off to people. With. Oh, THC, Delta 8, yeah. Well, okay, thank you, Jake. Don't want to keep you.
Awesome.
And I already followed you on Instagram. So what I'll do normally, I would do some clips from this,
Okay,
and then I'll
cool.
tag you so you
Awesome.
can share it on your platform too.
That
And
sounds great.
also, I really would like to know about your streaming network.
Okay.
So if you are to, you'll post that in your Instagram, or I don't know where.
Yeah, yeah. I'll
I
start posting once we get that all set up. I'll start posting more on Instagram, and yeah, we'll start accepting
we'll connect
people.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Jake, for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.